All right. Anytime that I post a picture of this quad Cortex on my story, other players ask me, is it worth it? So we're going to do a quad Cortex honest review so that all my people out there know how I feel about it. Okay. Now, the first question they ask, is it worth it? This is a multi-effects pedal, which means different effects and sounds from 10 little bumps here, 11, I guess. And it's $1,800. That's why they're asking, is it worth it? When you're a musician, you tend to buy stuff. You tend to go in debt buying gear. So honestly, come on, man, you've spent money on stuff. This is just what it is, dude. But $1,800 is a lot. Sweetwater, you can finance it, which means you can pay month to month until you pay it off. Is it worth it? So let's go with why I think it can be worth it. So right now, for me personally, I'm in 5 different bands working often. Which means sometimes I'm playing with one band on a Thursday, one band on a Friday, one band on a Saturday, and then I'm doing a solo gig on a Sunday. So with my old pedal board with pedals, what you got to do is you're ripping one off and you're putting a different one on, or you're switching them around. Sometimes you're playing at a festival and it's some hired guy's PA system. Sometimes you're at a small venue and it's a small venue's PA system. Sometimes you're in a club or a restaurant and they're pumping you through the house speakers, which sound a certain way. And then it's your own stuff, and then you're recording and blah, 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 blah. When you can digitally just delete, add, or move a pedal with your finger and save it to equal Thursday, and then you can scroll up and you can equal Saturday. That's dope. I mean, that's incredible, right? I mean, hell yeah. That's one of the biggest pros of it all is if you're working and you want to work and you want to be versatile. And one of the bands I play with is like 2000s rock, and then the other one is top 40s all time. And then we were in like a house band project where you're like ripping off TikTok famous EDM songs. And then you're in someone's, original band, like indie stuff. And, they want trashy amps and trashy fuzz, and it's on here, if you really, really want to sound like your hero, like John Mayer, or if I was going to rip off anybody, I'd want to rip off David Gilmour from Pink Floyd, and I can because of this. If you want to rip off Van Halen, you can, or Metallica, you can. Every amp is on here. You literally go to like this, you press a button here, right, dude? And then you go to amp here, dude. Okay. And then you start scrolling amps. Boom. Another huge plus. You can program one button to do multiple things. Like this one is turning on overdrive and reverb. So if it's my lead tone, whenever you hit a lead and then you're like, man, I needs to be wetter. So then you add reverb and you're like, it's not epic though. So then you add delay and you're like, and then it's also not, the volume, it's like, it's still getting lost, not cutting through. And then you're like, you with your feet, you're like, boom, 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 boom. You can do it all with one, bro. Woo. What's up? Or like, how like Fender amps or certain amps, they have the channel switch, channel 1, channel 2. You can program one to go, you just do another amp. It's same amp or different amp. You could have 2 amps, 1 button, and it'll still also do multiple things. Let's say like right here, I have the compressor before the amp. Sometimes it sounds cooler for the compressor to go after the amp. Sometimes it's cooler to EQ everything before it goes to the time-based effects. And you can find out. You don't got to unplug, move, drop, plug again. Oh no, my Velcro's dying because it's 1,000,000 degrees in the desert, or it's cold and you're freezing and you're trying to rip Velcro off and your little weenie fingers get hurt. Like, that's what's really dope. You can have multiple reverbs doing multiple things. When you do the tap for delay, it'll also do it on this trem effect or a chorus or phaser. Like you'll time everything in. If you're a solo guy, there's a looper on it. I mean, it's really cool. There's also a ton. I play bass in a band, so to be able to not have to go buy a bass pedal or bass stuff, and it's like, we were tracking bass for an alt like indie band, and he needed the bass to be like fuzzier and thinner. I can just choose a smaller cab. But when I'm playing bass for this top 40 cover band, it's got to be thick and smooth and round and warm. And there's an amp for that. Boom. It's really, really cool when you're working and one thing can kind of get you through all of it. The next cool thing is recording is a ton of fun with this. Like, you just scroll through amps, man. Just keep scrolling. And it's DI, so you can be pumping everything through your monitors, and you don't have to like get a room for your amp and all that stuff. It's really cool. So the one thing though, some of the tough bits about it. Let's talk about the tough bits. When you're taking it out as a working player, a sound guy can really ruin this thing because it comes out really hot. And you try to just do it at 100 all the time because it's just a level playing field all the time. But too much gain after this is like really destructive. I think it can really kill it. I even in my own solo gigs, if I put this thing through my mixer, I kind of have to set up a whole new scene to make sure that I can get enough volume for everything without pushing the gain on here, which, kind of makes your mix better because gain really just distorts signal. Gain is a dummy knob for volume. And even I've been using mixers for 12 years now or something like that. And I'll just still gain the shit out of something. And, it's just like, all right, man, maybe you don't need that. So if you're going through a house system that's set, like if you're at a restaurant or a brunch bar, and they say plug it in the house too, no one knows how that system works. No one has any clue. And it's probably gain to hell, man. You know what I mean? And so it can distort. So that's kind of a problem. Like it's not really a problem that this thing just cranks heat, but it can be problematic. The other thing that is, I guess, a disclaimer is since this is all digital, if this thing crashes and this is the only thing you got, you are kind of cooked. I don't know. I have pedals. I have analog pedals that I'm not getting rid of. I know that. But then the world could end too. So what are you going to do? So the thing that I don't like about it though, this is what I didn't like about it. I was disappointed when I got this one and I didn't get one like, let's say, the Boss one. I grew up listening to Incubus and Nine Inch Nails and Rage Against the Machine, and putting on my headphones and going away, the sounds were just like, it's not even, is that a guitar? Is that an alien? Like, what is that? That's what always got me excited to play. So the FX on here, the filters, the chorus, the octaves, the trems, the phasers, in my opinion, they're all pretty disappointing. None of them have really hit. Now, this thing this is like computer programming in such of a way that like maybe I just haven't gotten there yet and I haven't figured it out. But out of the box, very difficult to feel inspired on. I felt the tones, the lead tones, the amps, the overdrives, super cool. Be like, again, one pedal to turn on an overdrive, delay, and reverb, or awesome. But when it comes to effects and like having fun, like I'm just saying, like if you ever just go to Guitar Center and the whole like Boss rack, if it's ever on, you know what I mean, and you just like beat up, you just turn on like 7 of them and you just find out. The thing is, this thing is so intense and so detail oriented. When you see like a Boss pedal that has 3 knobs, that is a godsend compared to this. There's things I know enough about it now. I would say I know a pretty good amount. And there's still certain things I'm like, oh God, what does that even mean, man? Like, where's the dummy label like just juice? Where's juice, man? You know, or like when they just put a funny word, not even Boss, like boutique pedals too. They just put a funny word at it, and they're just like, hey, that's what that is. You know what that is, right? This speaks science, which is cool if you want to understand. But when it comes to having fun, this thing isn't all that much fun. This is incredibly intellectual and in depth. And am I better for it now? Sure. Is it just not as much fun? It's not as much fun. It's not inspirational. If you are looking for creative effects in sounds, if you're a tone chaser, if you're a historian, if you have a deep and great wealth of knowledge of amps and speakers and pedals, or if you want said knowledge and history, then okay, then right on. Then this is probably for you, 100%. But for me, it wasn't very inspirational. Also, I'm really picky about filters and auto wah certain things. And there's sounds I've heard before that are just like, oh man, that's it. How can I get that? And I was really hoping I'd be able to find it here. Maybe I will. Maybe I haven't figured it out, but it's not easy. And maybe things shouldn't be. But for $1,800, I would 100% think it'd be more doper if it was easier to find. But hey, what are you gonna do, man? So, other thing is some of the compressors, again, it's so detail oriented that I'm like, it's either smash or nothing. That's kind of how I felt. Now, again, there's more that I need to learn. There's more that needs to be discovered. And, I have honestly been so busy just getting a scene for a band is pretty much all I've gotten to be able to do. But I really think that could have been, I feel like some of these pedals in here, they should make them for dummies. The effects ones, they should make those for dummies because there's a reason why, because we're guitar players and bass players. Like how do you describe things at a rehearsal? You're just like, dude, we should really smash that part. Or dude, I think we should chunk it, man. Or some people will be like, reggae it. It's like, what does that even mean? We all speak this other language and this is like science, which is great. And I'm sure I'll be smarter and better for it later. But in the moment, I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to get the laser sound, man. Okay? I'm trying to get lasers. But overall, if you are a working cat, if you want to be versatile, if you want, I've heard it called fly rig. If you want something you can just take on the road and not have to bring anything, this thing, it will pay you back. If you get this, it will pay you back. It will bring a peace of mind that you have something that can get the job done. For recording, also, I think this is probably a tremendous tool for recording as well. As far as creative things goes, it does not inspire me, but I think that's because of who I am. I'm not a tone chasing guitar player or a purist of certain things of that. I wouldn't fit that description. But if you are, then again, this is awesome. And again, on Sweetwater, pretty sure you can finance it, for $300, maybe $400 a month for about 6 months, or whatever math is. But I would say though, for my job, I 100% think that this has made my life easier. But I would say sitting around playing with it, I pretty much get what I need for my job. And then I'm like, all right, I'm moving on. So that's my honest Quad Cortex review. And whenever you speak about the Quad Cortex, you have to use a lisp because if you have one, you're a dork.